Hi, this is Matt Donegan. This is Spotlight. I'm here with Dennis. Dennis, tell me about you and tell me about your business, please.
Yeah, so I'm Dennis Relojo-Howell. So I'm the founder and managing director of Psychreg. In a nutshell, Psychreg is a website that focuses on psychology and wellness. So we ran a range of articles ranging from news articles to opinion pieces to announcements. And there's another thing that I do. I organize conferences. In fact, this October, I'm flying to Vietnam to organize, to host an international conference. And I also run an academic journal. And just like Matt Donegan, I also do interviews. I have my own YouTube channel. So yeah, that's what I do. I've been doing this since 2014.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you've got a lot of speakers. It sounds like you're very ingrained in your community. How long has it taken you to really build out that community? You told me when you started it, but when did you start gaining traction?
The traction probably kicked off after 4 years, because that's the time that allowed me to leave my job. Because previously I was working at a PR company in London, and at that time I was earning more than I was already earning from Psychreg more than what I was getting paid working in London. So that's kind of like the deciding point for me to just focus on Psychreg.
Okay, well that's fantastic. So Psychreg is taken off of its own accord. Has it come from a passion or has it come from just the number of viewers?
It has come mainly from interest, because when I launched Psychreg, it was just during, because I was doing my MSc at the University of Hertfordshire in 2013. And during that time, I had the idea of launching a website, something about psychology. And yeah, so I just started to gain traffic, and from that I realized that to monetize content. So yeah, that's how it started. So the traffic was mainly organic.
Right. So organic traffic, and then it's just grown from there. And it took you reached a traction point, and then it's just taken off from there.
Yeah. So peak was I was getting about 800,000 views in a month.
Wow.
It's not as big as, let's say, the bigger players, Psychology Today or Very Well Mind, but I was a one-man team, and I was proud of that achievement.
Fantastic. So with the background that you had, you were able to value the media as well, I take it, in order to sell the advertising?
My background was predominantly in academia, because before I went here in Britain, I was a university lecturer in psychology. I was originally from the Philippines. So I don't have any idea about creating a website, but it's sort of my interest. And working in London at that marketing firm, I sort of have an idea how to create a content that would engage with audience.
Okay. So what are your key objectives at the moment for the
The key objectives is just to create a lay-friendly content, because a lot of the contents, when it comes to psychology, when it comes to wellness, they're usually, I would say, less accessible. But the language has definitely changed over the years. I would commend websites like Very Well Mind. I'm sorry to keep on mentioning them, but they're kind of like the platforms that I look up to. They made the content more accessible, but they don't host events, and that's I think what's missing when it comes to launching platforms like Psychreg. So that's what I've done.
Okay, so your view is that in real life that human to human interaction is really important.
Absolutely.
Forgive me for saying it kind of sounds a bit obvious, because this is the this is human psychology. We don't necessarily engage with machines, or we don't engage with computers in websites in the same way as we engage with a human being. So you're doing that. How are you driving that in real life engagement? You're doing these events. You mentioned, I think you mentioned doing one in Vietnam. Where else are you doing these events, and how else are you getting people together?
Because my target audience when it comes to this Psychreg, it's just the lay people. Whereas with conferences, it's more academic people, university lecturers and people doing their PhD. So it's a different target market. I'm sorry to use the word market. I'm not trying to sound mercenary, but with using the business jargon. But with the conference, I just think that it would also fuel Psychreg when it comes to content, because I want the contents to be evidence-based. This is a very sensitive niche. It's not like your TikTok content creator or your YouTube short creators. The things that I publish has got to be evidence-based, because I don't have any idea like who is the person reading this content and what are their personal motivation for looking for this content. So I have a responsibility to create contents which is based on evidence. And so those are the things that I learned from the conferences, from the academic experts, from the practitioners. So that's why I'm thinking that these two are perfectly aligned with each other. Yeah.
Right. And how important do you see the service that you provide to your customers? Because if they're looking to understand more about psychology, are they lay people? You mentioned lay people and you mentioned experts. Presumably you're experts at providing content with yourself, and then lay people are engaging with that content. Is that right? Have I got that right about how it's laid out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what challenges for your viewer, for your whoever's engaging with the website, that website visitor, what challenges do you think they are? What solutions are you providing them? How are you enabling their problem solving?
I'll give you a specific example, Matt. So much of the content I publish on Psychreg are news articles, and these news articles are actually sourced from academic journals. And if we're going to be honest about it, much of the readership of academic journals are mainly academics and practitioners themselves. So it doesn't directly benefit, or it doesn't directly benefit the people who is supposed to be the beneficiary of this content. And the reason for that is they're hidden behind a paywall, and also the language that they're using. There's the reason why we have that expression, it's academic, because the language is not just accessible, complex sentences and all jargon filled. So what I do with Psychreg is, because I've got access to those journals, is I could repackage them so they do read like, your news articles like in Daily Mail or Telegraph. So they're more accessible to everybody. And that's what I do. And the point of that is, they've done incredible research. It's peer reviewed, it's based on robust science. But I think my platform could offer better value if people could read it in an accessible language. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, please, Dennis.
Yeah, I was also going to say that another thing that I do is I interview people on YouTube. So I'm not just the kind of interviewer that features people because they big in the industry, but I want also to highlight people who like practitioners, who have like people who've got lived experience. So I just want everyone to have a voice. Yeah.
Okay, so if I take what you're saying to me there, I think there's a lot of interest since COVID in particular in mental health. Do you think the understanding of psychology that you provide is enabling people to deal with mental health issues? Is that your core audience, or is it something slightly more specialist?
Yes, I would say so. A lot of research has shown that, yeah, at least in Britain, young people are reluctant to seek help with mental health professionals, but they would rather, use online platforms, forums, and all of that. So yeah, so we have to provide content which is accessible and based on science.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to replace a mental health professional, but it's actually kind of like first step if you're doing your research, whether you should be engaging with a mental health professional. So that's basically my goal in publishing these contents.
Okay. If there were one single tangible benefit that your viewers, whoever engages your on your website, we're going to get the content you provide, what would it be?
It's content that is relevant for everyone.
Content that's relevant. Okay, great. Because I mean, so psychology, I think it has become more popular over the last few years, in particularly since COVID, and people wanting to understand how their mind works. There's a lot more interest in it, a lot more understanding about it. I think that in the UK, that in particular, there was a view at one point when it was a little bit, certain aspects of psychology were viewed as being slightly American, if you like. And in fact, what's become obvious is that it affects every single one of us, or understanding our psychology and the psychology of others is very, very important. And it's, the self-help books that many people read will be layered through with psychology. In fact, that's all they are. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. So what are the challenges that you've got at the moment with the business?
The main challenges is because of the last Google Core update, my website has been heavily impacted. So I mentioned earlier that I was getting around 800,000 views, and right now it has dropped to 50,000 views a month. So that's a significant drop. I think it just goes back to that you can't just focus on the technical aspect of creating SEO and just relying on a single stream when it comes to generating traffic, but you also have to pay attention to what the audience find valuable and relevant. Yeah.
Okay. And how are you battling that decline in numbers?
I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I think I've overdone, like internal links and all of that. I've overdone most of the SEO component that Google was previously looking for. So I think that the takeaway from this is that, regardless of the business that you're running, don't be complacent that, your customers will keep on coming back at you, or the competition is manageable. Because I was happy with 800,000 views. It's a good traffic for me. But just be adaptable. I know it sounds cliche, but you have to be adaptable to what the market is looking for.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. One of my colleagues did an interview with a business owner recently, a very, very successful business owner, who all of his competition were reliant on Meta as a platform to advertise. And several of his competitors got blocked by Meta. They hadn't necessarily done anything wrong, but something happened, and several of his competitors fell by the wayside, lost huge amounts of traffic. And what has happened is that this chap was still doing traditional advertising. Because he had fingers in many pies, his numbers didn't drop at all. So you're absolutely right. focusing on one area of marketing is very, very risky, and you're obviously feeling the impact of that now. What are you going to do in order to change that situation?
I think I just focus on what works. I know that, without focusing on technicalities, Google is just looking for quality content. So just focus on, like whether you're citing reliable sources or not clickbait title, because I have to admit, I used to do that before. Just things that you would be looking for as a reader yourself.
Right. Okay. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the game has changed with AI in particular.
Mm-hmm.
The game has really changed. I mean, obviously the platforms are looking for written content that's been written by AI, but a lot of content is being written by AI and then changed by human beings. And yeah, the rules of engagement have definitely changed. Yours is the only site. We hear this a lot at this moment, the decline in traffic. So it sounds like you're doing the right things. What's the big thing on the horizon for you at the moment? What excites you about your business right now?
What excites me about is, because I don't just focus on publishing content, but I also focus on hosting conferences. I started hosting conferences in 2018, but since then I've always partnered with universities, and this time that I'm doing it solo, so I'm quite excited about it. It's very challenging because obviously partnering with university gives you a lot of access to a number of things, which is very crucial for running a good conference. But I just want to try doing it on my own. So I know it will be very difficult for me because I don't have a lot of manpower, but yeah, I'm looking forward to how it's going to pan out.
Okay. So tell me, I often ask people what they would do if they went back to their 18-year-old self, but if I frame this slightly different, when you started your business to where it is, was there one significant thing that you would have done differently from day one?
Yes, I think I would just have focus in one thing, because when I started Psychreg, I was doing a number of things. At that time, I was doing my MSc and traveling and all of that. So just having a bit of time for yourself is not bad. But I suppose if I could just kind of improve it a bit, improve my trajectory a bit, I would just focus on one thing and just Psychreg. Yeah. It's already a bit late for me to kind of retract the conference because I already have regular participants. But if I could just focus on Psychreg back again, I would have done it.
Right. Okay. And moving forward, what's the big thing moving forward? What's the next 12 months got ahead of you apart from the conference?
Probably trying to resurrect my traffic and just growing my YouTube channel. Hopefully I could also feature you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, listen, thanks for that. I like the invite to your YouTube channel, by the way. It's great. I'm a big fan of psychology anyway. So it's been fascinating speaking with you, finding out about your business channel. It sounds like you're doing something really interesting, and it must feel really fulfilling as well. The challenges of website traffic, etc., I think a lot of people are experiencing at the moment. And once you get through that, I'm sure you're going to prosper. So look, it's been absolutely fascinating. Let's definitely keep in contact because, I mean, psychology is something that fascinates me anyway. And you seem to be right at the top of the tree of that niche. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Cheers, Dennis. Bye-bye.